Valentine's to you today.
Did you get me anything? In case anybody forgot it's Valentine's Day, you have about 8 hours to get something before you get home. Ready to start?
We're ready to start.
We will call the meeting to order at exactly 9:00 something a.m. I'll let Sam figure that out, and
I got it.
we'll start with our roll call.
Okay, Frank Williams,
Here.
Mike Forte,
Here.
Mark Martin.
Here.
See, Rich Alt, Jeff Weinkoff, Sylvester Ballard. Not seeing my line. Laverne Coleman,
Here.
Scott Floyd, Terry Mann, Gary Keaton. He was having trouble. We'll see if he joins later. Jerry Groves.
Here.
Hugh Kennedy,
Hugh Kennedy here.
Morton Blanchard, William Ravenbart,
Here.
Olivia Dawson, Jason Wells, Grady Hunt, Landon Zimmer. Okay, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll move on to our invocation and pledge of allegiance. If everyone in the room, please stand. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and discuss the transportation needs of our region. I just thank you for every person in this room and the expertise and insight they bring to the table. I ask that you would guide us in our discussions and keep everyone here safe as we travel home. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I am glad to see this.
Yeah.
And with that, you see a lot there. That's a smarter move. I will now read the ethics, awareness, and conflict of interest statement that we are required to read aloud at the beginning of each meeting. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every committee member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any committee member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before the committee today? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter involved. Does anyone have any known conflicts with anything? As always, if you realize something, once we get to that agenda item, bring it up then, but that's something we want to be cognizant of. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Or if not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Mayor Mann. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do our roll call.
Frank Williams,
Yes.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Mark Martin,
Yes.
Jeff Weinkoff,
Aye.
Laverne Coleman,
Yes.
Terry Mann,
Yes.
Gary Keaton. Thought he was on. Jerry Groves,
Yes.
Hugh Kennedy, Hugh Kennedy,
Yes.
William Ravenbart.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Well, you going, Sam, can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Can you send me the link for ethics so I can get up to date?
Yes. Yes.
I think we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, I'll mention it later and I will send that link this afternoon. Absolutely.
We now come to public comment. First, did we have any that were submitted either electronically or otherwise?
Did we skip the minutes?
We skipped the
We
minutes.
skipped the minutes. Okay. We were doing the agenda and I thought we were doing the minutes. So I need more comment. Next item is approval of the minutes, which are in our packet. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes?
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Forte. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ravenbart. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call.
Frank Williams,
Yes.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Mark Martin,
Yes.
Jeff Weinkoff, Laverne Coleman,
Yes.
Terry Mann,
Yes.
Gary Keaton. Mayor Keaton, I think I see your phone number on there, but I don't hear you. I'm gonna keep going. Jerry Groves,
Yeah.
Hugh Kennedy,
Hugh Kennedy, yes.
William Ravenbart.
Yes. Now we've approved the minutes.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Now we come to public comments. Is there any that were submitted in advance?
No, sir.
Anyone online wish to make a public comment? Going once? Going twice? Anyone in the room? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none, we'll move on to vacancies and appointments. And at this point, I think once you go over this, it'd be good for us to do some introduction since we do have some new members.
Definitely. So each year, we have to either appoint new or reappoint previous members to this board, to our TAC, specifically to the municipal representatives. Everyone serves a 2-year term, and we try to have them staggered. There's 2 municipal reps per county, as well as alternates. And so this year, 1/2 of the reps from each county were up for either reappointment or new appointment. We held meetings in early January with each of the counties and got feedback from all of the mayors. As stated in our bylaws, that's how the process works. And what you have on the screen before you, as well as in your agenda packet, you have the full roster for this calendar year 2025. There were no changes in Pender or Columbus County. Those are all reappointments. The only change was in Brunswick County, where Dave DeLong, who had been serving as a voting rep, said that he would not be running for reelection at the end of this year, so he wouldn't be around for his full 2-year term. And so Mayor Weinkoff from BSL moved from that alternate 2 spot up to the voting spot, and Councilman Ballard from Northwest offered to serve as an alternate. That was voted on and approved by each of the 3 counties. So there's no action to take with this today, but just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Mayor Weinkoff, you probably know everybody here, so maybe we don't need to do the introductions, but welcome. And I don't think Councilman Ballard is online, but he is the first person from Northwest that I remember being a member or an alternate as long as I've been on this committee. So it'd be good to get them more plugged in. So if we can make sure that got to get him engaged, because it's been a while since they've had a voice. Sandy Creek had representation for a long time, but Northwest was just not participated. So I'm glad to see someone from there on the committee. One question I have looking at, not that, but that the roster you've got in here, do the alternates correspond to a specific municipal seat? For instance, is Mayor Alt specific to Councilman Martin, or is it if, let's say, one of the seats was missing and the alternate for the other seat was here, could they fill in?
That is correct. So I can send out an updated, we have a similar procedure on the TCC. There is, since we've added 2 alternates, at least in Pender and Brunswick County, Mayor Alt would be the first alternate to fill in for Councilman Martin. But if neither Councilman Martin or Mayor Alt were present, then Mr. Ballard could fill in. So there is a preference, but they could still fill in for either spot.
And then if Mayor Weinkoff was not here, Councilman Ballard would be the first alternate for him, correct?
That is correct.
That would make sure I understood how that would work.
Sure. That way, having 2 alternates, if you are the, I guess, designated second alternate, it's not as unlikely.
You have to decide who gets. Yeah,
That's
if they're
correct.
both here.
Yes, sir.
That makes sense. Just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yes, that's a good question.
Any questions or comments on any of that? If not, we move on to our annual election of the chair and vice chair for this board. Does anyone wish to make a motion related to that?
I will. And I'm gonna do both in one motion, if that's okay. I move that we reappoint Commissioner Williams as the chair and Mayor Terry Mann as the vice chair, because nobody else wants it.
I'll second that.
Second and third.
It sounds like it's enthusiastically seconded by the entire body. Any discussion or any other sacrificial lambs? Seeing none, I guess we need to do a roll call on that motion.
Oh, Frank Williams,
I guess so.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Mark Martin,
Yes.
Jeff Weinkoff,
Yes.
Laverne Coleman,
Yes.
Terry Mann,
Yeah.
A little reluctant.
Gary Keaton. Jerry Groves.
Yes.
Hugh Kennedy,
Yes.
William Ravenbart.
Yes.
And Mayor Mann's agreement at the beginning of our shared tenure was that he would be vice chair as long as I never missed a meeting.
You've been good.
So far, we've had to rearrange a few meetings, but so far, but
That's okay.
at some point in the next couple of years, it will be time for some new people to begin stepping up and, probably get some representation from Pender County. We haven't had anybody from Pender County in one of the top two seats in 10 years, because we've been in these seats since 2014, believe it or not. That's been a long time. It's hard to believe, but it's almost as soon as I got on this board, I became the chair, and it's, it will be time in the near future. I'm willing to do it this year and next year. I don't know, but after that, I think it'll be time for some new people to step up just to get some different perspectives up here. But thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for your support, even if. Exactly. Now we'll move on to our presentation from NCDOT's Integrated Mobility Division. Kim, welcome.
Yeah, hi, welcome everybody. Thank you. My name is Kim Nguyen. I am a multimodal regional transportation planner at IMD, the Integrated Mobility Division.
Can those of you online hear Kim, or do we need to move a microphone?
There should be one right over
Is
there.
there? Okay. In the absence of people saying they can't hear, I'll assume they can.
Okay,
No
cool. Because I may or may not have forgotten my voice back in Raleigh, so please bear with me a little bit. But Sam has invited me here to talk to you all about a little bit what IMD does, how we can help you all serve your communities better, and then just refresher on what I do and how you can reach out to me if you have any multimodal, bike, ped, transit questions you need answered. So before I start, I want to say that we're seeing a lot of change within our population. Trends such as the younger generation just doesn't want to seem to get their driver's license anymore, or the elderly population, moving to a state of they don't want to drive anymore, or it's not safe, or they can't, or disabled folks who don't have the access to a driver's license or a car or anybody to take them certain places. So it's important for IMD to have the different options for people to get where they need to get, whether it's by bike, ped, transit, and not necessarily by car. IMD really focuses on having that choice. So if people want to take different choices, they can. So here you can see a map of North Carolina where each purple dot represents 20 people who don't have a vehicle. Whether it's they cannot afford a vehicle or they just don't want to, they live in highly urbanized areas, like you can see, where transit, rail, bike ped, their communities are very walkable. So it could be a lot of different options, but we want to make sure that we can address the needs that maybe are unmet in these areas so that everybody has access to where they need to go. So one of IMD's mission is to provide leadership for safe, affordable, and innovative multimodal transportation through North Carolina. I know that sounds like a mouthful, but to break it down, we want to increase access. Like I said earlier, access to, transit, access to railway stations, access to mobility hubs, scooters, bicycles, lanes, sidewalks, increase all the access so that there are different options for people to take. Not only do we want to increase access, but we want to make sure that taking those options are safe. We don't want a family of 4 with young children riding their bikes to school on a 45, speed road. It's not necessarily safe. Having bicycle lanes or sidewalks near parks, that's one way that we can increase safety, that we know people are going to be out on the road. We have programs like Safe Routes to School, our Bicycle Helmet Initiative. Those are some of our programs that, increase and promote safety. And then as well as enhancing our quality of life. So not everybody gets really thrilled or has that, sense of adrenaline after riding a car. You may want to walk or bike to a park. It may be a Sunday evening where you just want to take a stroll in your neighborhood and not have to worry about a car zooming by. So having safe access to each multimodal transportation, as well as enhancing your quality of life, is one of our 3 core goals at IMD. I talked about safety. You can see a graph here. North Carolina ranks in the top 10 nationally for bicycle and pedestrian fatalities. So at IMD, we see this as a really need to address safety to better that statistic, because, who doesn't want to be in a more safe state? So just to break down a high level view of IMD, we have our program and project management branch. So that can be anywhere, chassis, automated vehicles. You might have heard of S-Line, mobility hubs. That's that team. We have our compliance and procurement. So that team specifically does, transit operations, facility management, making sure that there's training for bus operators, making sure they're in compliance with the state contracts. And then we have our finance and administration team. So they are in charge of grants, on-call, finance questions, road, SMAP, all the other grants that are out there. And then I am in the planning and programming team. So we have our regional planners and our statewide planners. So like I said earlier, am in charge of the Coastal Plains region. And we also have other regional planners for the mountains, Western Piedmont and Eastern Piedmont. We are supposed to have the other regions filled out, but we are currently going through HR and onboarding for those positions, since we have a few shift in our divisions. But I still remain here. I've been working with the Coastal Plains region for almost 2 years now. So, really getting to know the areas and the communities. And you all know, working in public service, I'm sure you all have constituents that rely on you to know the community well. And that's why we have regional planners, so that we can better know what's going on in the communities that we serve.
Well, how many counties are in your region in there? Other than a lot.
Yeah, that's a good, I've never counted. I know I have 5 MPOs and 5 RPOs.
Is it kind of broken down by those boundaries? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
TPD, you came up with these boundaries. And I think it's a fair estimate, I guess. Distribution. Thank you.
Yeah, looking at it, I mean, my question was gonna be, to me, it would seem like Duplin would fit better in your region and Harnett in the Eastern Piedmont, but if it's by RPO or MPO boundaries, that makes sense. The same with Beaufort. To me, it looks like it ought to be with the coastal, but if it's by RPO and MPO, I can see that.
Yes. So, one of the things that regional planners do is we work with our MPOs and RPOs.
Right.
So that's how it's distributed.
I count 27.
So I guess 4 regions, you've got a quarter of the state, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Long drive.
Yes. So it is quite a drive from Raleigh, but we make sure to hit each of our MPOs and RPOs every now and then.
Commissioner Forte said Mayor Alt had his hand up. I can't see you from the outside.
My question is, under the planning part of it,
Mhm.
is there money there that you have money?
Yes.
If we came to you and asked you for money, you at least be able to consider it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, you're fine. It's coming up.
That's gonna be a good
Let you go on, man.
What everybody here is thinking.
No, yeah, everybody's thinking about money. You can't do
Well, I
anything
see,
without
I
money,
see on
right?
on the agenda, there's a bunch of people that jurisdictions are putting in for asking the RPO to support their document.
Which is the same one, it's been a couple months since we talked about it, but the grant that Southport applied for last year,
Right.
that they're finishing up the contracting for, is Kim's program.
Okay, I just didn't see Southport on that document.
Because these are for upcoming applications.
We already did yours a few
And
months ago.
Southport and Oak Island did this same program
Got it.
last year.
Just, I'm in a learning curve here.
Please, I welcome all questions. I know IMD might be new or not, well-known. It used to be the bike and ped division and the transit division, but in 2019, we merged both of those divisions. So maybe that can give a little bit of context of what IMD is now. Yes, so here we are. This is just another high-level overview of our current multimodal and transit planning initiatives. I talked a lot about funding, so there's funding within our finance and grants group. We have, different raise grants, innovation grants, all that stuff. You can reach out to me and I can point you to our finance team, but they can talk more about grants and finance. But what I do mostly is our planning initiatives and our transit service initiatives. So we have transit services, we have microtransit feasibility studies that we just completed, our statewide local coordinated plan. You might have seen a few emails about surveys being pushed out for that. We have visioning workshops, our regional transit plans, and then what I came here to mostly talk to you about was the multimodal planning grants. So our multimodal planning grants are grants to help local municipalities complete a bicycle and pedestrian plan. We offer a grant and we pay for it, but the local municipality pays about a 20% local match. But we cover the rest. So if there's a municipality that wants to update their bicycle or pedestrian network or wants to know if there's any connectivity issues or accessibility issues, we identify those all in a plan. Then some of you may know that that's how you get funding for bicycle lanes and sidewalks, is to have a plan first. Currently, we have funded 266 multimodal plans. That's 260 municipalities and 6 counties. So we work with communities to develop a plan for your community. We go out there and we take pictures and we do assessments and really identify key corridors where there needs to be, a sidewalk or crossing lanes or different bicycle and pedestrian improvements.
Just to make sure I correctly understood when you said, to emphasize it, if I'm right, they have to have the plan in place first before they can get the grant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So before you go through the feasibility, the design, the construction, most how bicycle and pedestrian and transit infrastructure gets built in North Carolina is by having a plan first. And then having that plan, you can go after different grants to secure funding for the design and construction for different projects.
And I just wanted to emphasize that to make sure anybody here who's thinking about applying for the grant understood, if you don't have the plan, go to that.
And it's the same when we submit projects for prioritization.
Right.
We need to be able to show that they're in
Right.
a plan. And so that's,
to make sure there's local will,
mhm.
it's been vetted locally.
That's also why it's so important for the people on this board to come to these board meetings, because this is where a lot of, at least at the RPO level, our plans get approved. And if we don't hear from you, we don't know what to put on the plan.
Yes. And, I think I may have skipped over this, but part of our, multimodal planning grants is we also have like a survey that goes out into the community. So, you know, people who are satisfied or unsatisfied with certain projects or plans that may have come up in the plan, they can voice their opinions and say, yes, we really want that, or no, I don't think that's a really good idea. And then that goes to show in the plan, and then it gets voted on, and then that's how the plan is established in a community. So I want to talk a little bit more about my responsibilities as your regional planner. We do a lot of multimodal consultations. So we do a lot of facilities guidance, recommended widths, sidewalks, buffer lanes, and then complete streets policy. We have our complete streets team at IMD. If you have any complete streets questions, feel free to send them my way, and I can send you or send your question to them to get it answered.
Could you define what that is? What a complete street?
Yes. Please jump in if I'm saying something wrong. But a complete street is I'm losing my words.
It would account for all
Modes.
modes of transportation. So a road that has a sidewalk, that has a bike lane. So for all different modes of transportation, that facility is safely usable.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a guiding principle for us to try and, as we piecemeal improvements, that we try to upgrade them to include all modes.
Yes.
So it
Thank
has
you.
nothing to do with orphan streets or something like that.
No.
Yeah.
And then I talked a little bit about our planning studies at IMD. So the multimodal planning grants is the bread and butter of what the planning department does. But we also do microtransit feasibility studies. We do paved trails feasibility studies. So if anybody is familiar with the Curie Beach paved trails feasibility study that we just did. And then we did our Gullah Geechee paved trails feasibility study. So those are the areas that are within this region that you might have all heard or known about. And then I think downtown Wilmington was also part of that grant too. Yeah. So we sit on a whole bunch of steering committees for different projects that might need multimodal, you know, consultations and stuff like that, making sure that bike ped is represented at each planning process that goes on. And then just general coordination. So I talked a lot about the coordination between MPOs and RPOs, having that engagement with y'all, so that if I know that a certain town or municipality may need something in your area and we have something coming up, so that I know who to reach out to apply for certain grants and stuff like that. And then we also do work with our division offices if they need something or if we need something. There's easy back and forth there. And then just identifying the need for grants. If y'all have a grant that's in mind and you know you need extra consultation on that, if we are able to help, we can.
So do you, I'm just gonna use the Greenway as an example. It runs through a lot of RPOs, MPOs, all that stuff. So if the Wilmington MPO, we have two gentlemen that are, you two guys are on that, right?
Yeah.
If they were to be, if they were gonna do something on that Greenway, going down to Kerr Beach or whatever, would we know about that? Because then I think that would add more emphasis that with the next, our RPO is the next point on that path, so that we would be logically, in my mind, logically trying to connect into it. If they're doing part of it up there, we would want to start working on doing the feasibility study of our side, which I think we've done part of that already.
Correct.
Sam, do you want to address that? Because I know you communicate with the MPO staff
Yes.
much more frequently than we even know.
So just like Commissioners Williams and Forte are on the Wilmington MPO TAC as well, their TCC of their staff board, I attend those meetings also.
Okay.
And so what Kim mentioned, Wilmington MPO just is wrapping up a feasibility study for the segment of the East Coast Greenway that goes through Curry Beach. once that crosses the ferry, that picks up on the feasibility study that the RPO did about 3 or 4 years ago now. It wasn't through the IMD funding. It was a separate set of planning dollars. I would have to look back on the plan to double check because it was both before Kim and I were here. But IMD was consulted in that planning process as well. So there is communication across planning boundaries, especially on such a huge corridor like the East Coast Greenway that, okay, they've done feasibility studies, we've done feasibility studies. They're submitting projects to fund portions of this. We're submitting projects to fund portions
We
of
are
this.
submitting things, trying to get the things done.
Yes.
I'll follow up with you later on.
Yeah, we did. I think in this past round, I don't remember if I don't think we had a segment in Southport, but we did submit a segment of it, kind of through the heart of Oak Island, and it scored relatively well. But anyway, so yes, those communications are ongoing. Kim's a part of that. There's a guy, his name is Andrew, who represents the East Coast Greenway organization. He's a part of that. So we're always sharing information across each of those planning perspectives.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And then I just wanted to mention some current projects and programs that have either completed or that are ongoing. So last year we finished up our Wrightsville Beach bicycle and pedestrian plan. We did our wave transit electrical vehicle transition plan. We did some paved trails feasibility studies within this East Coast area. We're also finishing up some statewide transit EV plans. Those are Wilson County, Johnston County, trying to get them to see if electrifying their fleet is even a feasible option. And then we have some micro transit feasibility studies that are just now finishing up. And then ongoing right now, I've got some pedestrian plans with Fayetteville, the Carolina Beach bike and ped plan. The draft just went out yesterday, so we need to review and wrap that up. And then the Western Carteret County, a few counties had partnered together to submit a multimodal planning grant. And then I think a small part of where the counties overlap, that's where the plan is formed. So it can be a combination of a few small counties if the one area in particular that you're wanting to study overlaps all the counties. It doesn't have to be one county or one town that applies to a multimodal planning grant. If you want a specific area that's studied, we can also help with that too. And then for this next round of grants, for this region, the town of Oak Island and the town of Southport submitted their application and was approved. So we're working with the town of Southport and Oak Island to get their local matches sent in and go through contracts and set up meetings with our consultants so that, we can move forward with this plan. And then we have our regional transit plans. So having a transit facility or transit operator travel locally throughout the different regions, not just serving one county or one city or municipality, making sure that, there's coordination between different counties if you are traveling within a certain area. And then our bicycle helmet initiative, which the application closes today. But if you are unfamiliar with that initiative, it's any organization, government organization, town that wants to apply for free helmets, absolutely free. We send you 25, 50, 100 helmets to distribute in your area, in your community. So it's a really good way to go out into your community and promote bicycle safety awareness, making sure children are riding their bicycles. And a lot of times events are usually around May, which is Bike Walk to School Day. So a lot of different schools will partner with NCDOT's IMD to host an event or walk to school. So you may see some of that in May, springtime.
And Kim,
Yes.
just one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but one thing that IMD has started doing with their planning grants is they have a spread of consultants that they have kind of ready to spread across whichever grants get funded. And so that's another step that is not having to be kind of piled on the table of especially small towns and communities like we have in the RPO. That's just one part of the process that is simplified. If your grant application is approved, they match you up with a consultant. That's not something that your town staff, especially small towns that, you know, maybe have a part-time town manager, they don't have to go out and find a consulting firm capable and willing to do this. IMD helps match that up with several great planning firms across the state that are fully equipped and accustomed to doing this style of plan.
I'm this anal, I need this answered. Where is the town of Sims? Never heard of it.
The town of Sims is 45 minutes from Raleigh, closer to Wilson.
Okay,
Near Rocky Mountain, Wilson.
Yes,
never heard of it, thank you.
you're welcome.
Population was 282 in 2010.
Yes, yeah.
Like Metropolis.
Small town, but they've got a highway that runs right through their downtown. So they, you know, and I think it's like a four-way stop that goes right into their downtown, or not even a four-way stop. It's like a yellow slow down. Yeah. So they reached out to us and they were like, we want a safer option for our downtown and more walkability in our downtown. So we're doing that a lot with small towns. And
Put a diverging diamond. Just kidding.
that's a different division.
Over the entire downtown.
Underground diverging diamond.
Yeah,
The-
so something we talked about, small towns. Yes,
Councilman Martin, did you have a question online?
I did. The grant for the town of Oak Island, I believe, is specified to update the bike plan. We have a bicycle plan, but it's old, it's outdated. Would that grant also include planning for multi-use access? Because one of the largest challenges we have today in the town of Oak Island is we have a lot of bicycle traffic, but they choose to use our sidewalks instead of using streets and roads. I think part of the reason is, you know, the speed limit along East Oak Island Drive is 45 miles per hour in the residential areas, and that actually discourages people. So even if we were to, you know, resurface East Oak Island Drive and add bicycle lanes with a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, it's discouraging bicycle traffic. So they're diverting to the sidewalks, which now creates a pedestrian hazard. So I'm just trying to understand the grant for the town of Oak Island. What is the scope of what those funds can be used for?
It would certainly include planning for things like multi-use paths that would be infrastructure for bicyclists. And so it would, I think, go hand in hand with the planning that's already been done for the greenway that goes down East Oak Island Drive.
Right.
That would just be further echoed in this locally, I guess, adopted plan for bicycle infrastructure. So yes, it would be more than just where do we want on-street bicycle lanes. But we would, I'm 99.9% sure that we'd also be looking at, okay, where would we want to consider multi-use paths for the bicyclists in town?
Great.
yes. And the town of Oak Island, I believe that grant was awarded an acceleration plan. So instead of just developing a whole new plan, they're taking their old plan and then developing more bicycle and pedestrian facilities and guidance to their old plan to update it to new plans. And then just another, slide on different consultations of special topics. But I did want to go back to when we talked about small towns, how it's calculated for your local match it's calculated on your population of your municipality. So if your municipality has a smaller population, it plugs that formula into a formula, and that's how you get your local match. So I promise you, these small towns aren't competing 20% local matches with city of Fayetteville or city of Raleigh. So that's one of the ways that we're helping small towns achieve, and have these different plans. So I think I already went over the different consultations on special topics. But I did want to reiterate how important it was for IMD to be engaged in different communities, especially with MPOs and RPOs in the area. So if you have any questions or any concerns or want to talk to me or want to, just talk about your day, you can also just reach out to me. And I appreciate the MPOs and the RPOs getting involved with IMD and letting me speak to you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions for Kim? I would encourage everyone to do exactly what Mayor Alt said, to take pictures for contact info.
Get out.
Because she can't be a resource for you if you don't know how to communicate with her.
I'll send this info out again later. These slides from her presentation will be available on the RPO website. Just as another endorsement of him and the rest of IMD, when we submit grant applications like we did last year with Southport and Oak Island, you may hear the update from me or from Mo or from Matt in Oak Island. But what you don't see is the lengthy email thread between me and Kim of me asking a bajillion questions and Kim having the answers. And so that's a huge part of these application processes that we go through. And so you need an endorsement. There it is. IMD has been very helpful.
Any other questions? Kim, thank you for being with us today. And just a couple of comments. I think number one is I want to thank Sam for noticing the online question that Councilman Martin had, because I cannot see that and don't have access to it. So if at any point in this meeting, you're one of our members online and we don't notice you, speak up, because we may have just not seen it. I literally don't have access to that screen. And just in general, I've been on this board since 2014 and on the MPO since the end of 2012. I still have questions, even though I've been on this thing that many years, because transportation is complex. Our acronym cheat sheet at the MPO is on legal size paper. Because there are so many acronyms that are involved in transportation. So if you don't know what an acronym means that somebody mentions, don't be afraid to ask, because I'm pretty sure you're not the only one on here that doesn't know. You're just the one that's willing to ask. And so that's I just wanted to point that out. It's an alphabet soup. And certainly if you have a question, lean on Sam and also on your TCC members, because I thought that was a good example that there were plans that had been done before either of you were in your current roles. So it may be in a plan that predates anybody currently involved, but it's still there. And it's good to know about those things. And this is not a short process. And why haven't you planned for that? We did. It was in a plan that was adopted in 2016 and it's going to be built in 2030. It's amazing how long some of those cycles are. So just wanted to point those couple of things out. But my big takeaway is that this division is here to be a resource for you. And I think it's especially helpful for the small towns. It's not going to be as much for Brunswick County, because most of our areas that would need the help would be in a town in Brunswick County, not in an unincorporated area. Most of our big neighborhoods coming in have a lot of this stuff built in through their HOA, but then you go to town of Sandy Creek, for instance, or Northwest, and Councilman or Commissioner Coleman mentioned Lake Walcomall. Those are, I think, poster children for who could benefit from this. So use them as a resource. Now we'll move on to new business, which is our first item is directly related to this, which is 4 resolutions for towns that are submitting grants for the NCDOT's multimodal planning grant program. And we do this a lot where we adopt resolutions of support. There's no financial obligation on the part of this board. We're just supporting their application. And the towns are Burgaw, Chadburn, Surf City, and Tabor City. Sam, anything else to mention on that?
No, these are, this application window usually ends in late March. And so we don't have the applications fully complete yet. But we won't have another meeting again until April. And so you're getting these resolutions a bit earlier. But yeah, each of these 4 towns has expressed an interest in applying to this grant opportunity. And similar to how we did last year with Oak Island and Southport, pursuing this planning grant following the completion of the Brunswick County Comprehensive Transportation Plan update. Both Columbus and Pender County are updating their CTPs now as well. And so at least in a planning cycle, and you got these big, super long range county plans, and then it's kind of a perfect flow into these localized, start to get to the nitty gritty a little bit more. But anyway, so all four of these towns want to do applications. And part of that includes resolution of support from the planning organization they're part of, which is us.
Any questions?
Can it be done with one motion?
Yes, I was getting ready to say that. I'm assuming one agenda item means we can do it all on one motion.
That is correct.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the four resolutions.
There a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Weinkauf. Any discussion? Seeing none, we do roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Mark Martin,
Yes.
Jeff Weinkauf,
Aye.
Laverne Coleman,
Yes.
Terry Mann,
Yes.
Gary Keaton. Still not hearing you off of mute, but I know you're there. Jerry Groves,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
William Ravenbart.
Yes.
Okay. And just,
Motion
and
carries.
yes, and I'm not being facetious when I say I know he's there. Mayor Keaton has been texting me. So I know that he hears us. We just can't hear him right now for some reason.
We will move on to an NC Ports resolution of support.
Yes, so, and I believe that, really she was, yeah, Stephanie Ayers from the Ports Authority is here online with us today, but this is a resolution that they have asked for this port infrastructure development grant that they're pursuing. It is to construct an offsite parking lot and I believe a pedestrian bridge over onto the port terminal to remove parking space on the port terminal to make space for more port activities, as well as to kind of separate the movement of freight and people employees getting there to work. It allows the freight to go in and out faster. It reduces safety conflicts. And so again, as is often the case, that there's no financial part on the RPO. But this is it'll make the port more efficient. It'll make the port safer. And anything that's a benefit to the port is a benefit our region. Stephanie, if I left anything out, feel free to add or to correct me.
No, nothing to correct, Sam. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. There's a lot of uncertainty with federal grants right now. This particular program, we have gotten some feedback from USDOT that they do plan to accept and review applications. There's about $450 million available in this particular program for port-related infrastructure projects. And this project would do exactly what Sam explained. It would build a 250 space parking lot on port-owned property that's outside of the secure gate. It would build a pedestrian bridge that would allow the employees to park their vehicles off terminal. They would walk over this bridge that would span over some railroad track, and it would land in the area where our maintenance garages and our equipment is stored. So they could walk right to their vehicles and get in their vehicles. And so this would keep 250 vehicles off of the port terminal and away from our heavy equipment and away from the freight trucks and trains. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and we really appreciate the support that you've given us in the past. We've been very successful with this grant program, and we've been awarded a grant 4 years in a row. So we're going for 5.
Stephanie, Frank Williams, I think this is a great idea. I do have one question. Obviously, every individual that parks in this new offsite lot will have to walk across the bridge. What kind of security will they have to go through to get out of the bridge and into the port to make sure that they're the right?
That's a great question. This is actually the second example that we have of a parking lot where employees can park, and then they go through a biometric secured gate. It has TWIC access, all of the security access. There's cameras, there's fingerprint, there's eye scan. We can use any of those to ensure that the people who are entering the facility are supposed to be there and deny access for folks who are not supposed to be there. In fact, my understanding is that the security is so good now that it can even identify if people are wearing the proper safety vests, for example, and deny them access if they're not even wearing the correct safety gear. So it's very state-of-the-art security.
I need that for my house.
More securely.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Forte. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Mark Martin,
Yes.
Jeff Weinkoff, Laverne Coleman,
Yes.
Terry Mann,
Yes.
Gary Keaton, Jerry Groves,
Yes.
Hugh Kennedy,
Yes.
William Ravenbart.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Final piece of business is amendment to our adopted meeting calendar. Sam, you want to
We,
come in?
so we currently have a meeting scheduled for Friday, October 10th. I have heard from some of our members that that date conflicts with other meetings. And so we may want to consider rescheduling that. No, I can't remember.
I will be out of town on the 10th.
You'll be out of town.
The 3rd or the 17th works for me. Either one. Would either one of those be harder or more difficult on TCC in terms of timing?
So the 17th would be much easier. The TCC will be meeting on the 1st.
Okay.
And so to go just 2 days later, just to get you all the information ahead of time, so you have the packet to review, that would be trickier. So I would personally prefer the 17th, if that works for,
Any objections?
Works for me.
Trying to keep my commitment with the mayor man to not miss a meeting. So do we have a motion to amend the schedule to move it from the 10th to the 17th?
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second? Second by Mayor Weinkoff. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do our roll call.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Mark Martin,
Yes.
Jeff Weinkoff, Laverne Coleman,
Yes.
Terry Mann,
Yes.
Gary Keaton, Jerry Groves,
Yes.
Hugh Kennedy,
Yes.
William Ravenbart.
Yes.
That motion carries. That concludes the business. We'll move on to reports and updates. First is Cape Fear RPO.
Okay, I have a few things that I'm gonna try to cover, but if you have any questions, please stop me. The first is something that I routinely include in your packet. Those are project updates for the current STIP. That's our 2024 to 2033 STIP. And we've got, I guess we last met in October, so several months worth of these changes. They're all very minimal. They're either slight cost changes or delays due to planning time or design time needed. If you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those, but I'm not going to go through those one by one. The next item, and this is another pretty routine thing, in your packet, you have a draft of our FY 25 to 26 planning work program. That is for our next calendar or our next fiscal year starting in July. Each year, I have to keep track of this PWP document. It's essentially the RPO's budget. It shows what our funding allotment is going to be for the year and how that's spread across several different line items that are given to me by DOT. Our budget for the year did not change from our current year. And this is just the draft for you to review. I'll be sending this in for DOT to review and make sure I don't have anything glaringly wrong in there. And I'll bring back a final version for your approval in April. But I try to get you a draft the meeting ahead of time, just so that if you're really interested in looking through a very chaotic spreadsheet that's pleasantly color coded, that you have that. The next thing is State Ethics Commission. Each member of this board, of this TAC, whether you're a voting member or an alternate, is required each year to complete a series of filings with the State Ethics Commission. It's a statement of economic interest and a real estate disclosure document. Those are due by April 15th of each year. And so I unapologetically apologize in advance that I will be hounding you for these over the next 2 months. I checked this morning and of our 18 folks that need to get those in, we already have 6. So for early February to be a third of the way there, I'm happy with that. And so you can do this online. You can send a paper version in. We just have to send in the original. If you have any issues with the online portal or with anything, let me know. In the past, if members have had issues with this, you can come to me or I will drive to wherever you are and sit down and we can complete this together and get it sent in. Suzanne Singh, who is our point of contact with the Ethics Commission, is phenomenal. She can fix everything, I'm convinced. So again, if you have any issues, we can rope her in.
Just a couple of comments on that. If it's your first time doing it, do not wait until April 14th to start and get it done ahead of time because something will go wrong if you wait till the last minute. So, and definitely reach out to Sam if you need help with it. Just being the first time can be challenging and confusing. It's not the most user-friendly system I've used, but it's also not the least. And I would highly recommend the electronic. If you'd send a paper version, absolutely send it certified mail, return receipt required. Don't send it any other way or send it some way where you can have proof of delivery. I've dealt with that, not specifically with them, but with campaign finance reports in the past where they tried to say the report was late and I had a receipt that showed it was not. So I would strongly encourage that. So those are my 2 comments on that.
I was gonna say the same thing. It's not real friendly, user friendly, but we finally got through, got everything turned to green.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the key things, I believe it's in the memo in your packet. But when you're completing that document, it's when it asks for a reason for filing, it's because you're on a TAC. It has nothing to do with your elected position in your jurisdiction. It is specifically because you are on a TAC. You're on the Cape Fear RPO's TAC.
And for those few of us that are also on an MPO, we check both boxes.
Correct. So if you have questions, I'm sure someone will run into a question in the next 2 months. That's completely fine. Just let me know. The last thing I wanted to make you aware of is, I think it was 2 weeks ago today. Has it been 2 weeks now? The draft 2026-2035 STIP has been released by NCDOT. This shows the results of the prioritization 7.0 process that we've been going through in the past 2 years. I will send, I can't remember if I did already. I'll do it again this afternoon. I'll send you a link to that draft STIP for your review. But I wanted to highlight a few things right now. One, a few things that did not change on this draft. And again, really emphasize this is still just a draft. Our carbon reduction projects. So there's one in St. James, there's one in Burgaw, and there's one in Tabor City. Those have not changed. The current project on widening 211 from 906 to 87, that is unaffected, as is the current ongoing project, the intersection of 87 and 11 in Columbus County. That is unaffected. So those are some of the big projects, in case that question came to your mind, that those have not been affected right now. We did have 2 new things added to the STIP. They are both projects at the Columbus County Airport. As you all recall, there was very slim chance of getting anything funded this past cycle. But we got a runway extension and a runway widening / safety project. We got the design money for both of those. So not construction funding, but they are funded for design at the Columbus County Airport. And that was the one kind of category that there was funding available. And we had 2 projects that were able to score high enough to get at least something positive out of this round. So, woohoo. As far as schedule delays.
More than I expected, so good.
As far as schedule delays, and these are also not just new to the STIP, but I believe that they're amendments in the current STIP as well. There's a project at Henderson Field, so the airport up in Wallace, an apron expansion that is being delayed by a year, but that's not just in this STIP, that's in a current STIP right now. Again, just needed extra planning time. And then a segment of the US 701 bypass project in Columbus County, a portion of that is being delayed. It was currently scheduled for 2029. It's being pushed to 2030. That project also has increased in cost. So we have a couple of projects that had significant cost increases, that being one of them. It went from around $47 million, a little over $65 million. So there's that, as well as the US 117 business and NC 53 intersection in Burgaw. That project didn't have any schedule changes, but did increase in cost from 1.8 million to 3.2. So a little bit less expensive than the prior project. Lastly,
Why are all these projects 40% up? What in the world?
materials are through the roof and labor.
Part of it's all the ARPA money that came in. You had so much more money in the projects and the same number of contractors. So you had supply and demand, and people could charge more because they knew they were getting work no matter what.
I'm sure every one of them, our citizens don't want to hear it, they just want it.
Yep.
And, you know, when you try to tell them it's 40-50% more than projected, it's a tough sell.
What was the increase in just in asphalt?
Yeah.
No,
And even though the price of gas has come down, the price of asphalt has stayed up at that high. So-
And cost increases are to be expected throughout the life of a project, especially as Commissioner Williams mentioned earlier. The long several year range that these projects span, you're going to have cost increases. But what we're seeing just in the past year or two is
Ridiculous.
dramatic. So
Dramatic's a good word.
last thing I wanted to mention, there were two projects that are in the current step that are funded for PE only, so that's preliminary engineering, fancy words for design, that are no longer in the draft step. That's the US 17 and NC 211 interchange. And it's R 2561C, it's widening NC 87 from NC 11 to US 7476. Again, those are two projects that weren't funded for construction anyway. But due to other cost increases, money had to be moved away from design to those to other projects. So you won't
So obviously the
those.
first one's in Brunswick County, the second one's in Columbus, correct?
That's correct. So anyway, I will send you a link to this draft document for you to review at your leisure. NCDOT is also having open house comment periods. And correct me if I'm wrong, both in the room and online. Division 3 is doing it next week from the 17th to the 21st, or is it going into the next week at all?
Just 1 week.
Next week, Monday through Friday at their office in Castle Hayne.
There's no presentation. It's just if anyone has questions, it's available for a drop-in for Q&A with a for myself. There's available.
And then the same thing the following week, the 24th through the 28th, for Columbus County members at the Division 6 office in Fayetteville. They'll also be having open house. Same thing, drop in, talk to one of the engineers, ask questions. And then this draft STIP isn't expected to be adopted by the Board of Transportation until July, I believe. So we've got several months before then, so things can change. No way of knowing what those might be, but as there are changes, I'll bring back updates. I think that's all I have. Oh, I did make a note earlier. Speaking of all of our acronyms, I knew there was something I was forgetting in your packet. It's because last time I put an acronym sheet in the back of your packet. If you would like an acronym sheet, let me know and I'll send that to you. I'll try to include it in the packet next time. But a lot of
It'd be handy
acronyms.
to have some, but what MPO does is they just have them and they pass them out at the meeting and collect them after the meeting. I think they've even got them laminated.
I do love to laminate things. They are.
But that way they're always here, because if you send it to me, I'll probably leave it at the house when I come to the meeting. So it'd be handy to have them here.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure I have that. I wrote it down about 3 different places in my notes. Any other questions for me right now? Okay.
Not thank you for everything you went through. We can move on to NC Port. Stephanie, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just a quick update. So you've probably heard me talking over the last couple of years that we have a container yard expansion program underway. We are finishing the final projects that make up that container yard expansion. And when we first started the program, Our container capacity was capped at about 350,000 TEUs on our terminal. With the completion of these projects, we now have a capacity of 1.2 million TEUs on our terminal, so it's pretty significant. As we finalize those projects, we're kind of turning our eye to the general terminal, which is everything else, so bulk and break bulk commodities. We have started a general terminal master plan, identifying infrastructure projects that will help us better serve those customers. The very first part of that is the construction of a new north gate. We will be moving our general terminal gate to Greenfield Street, and it will hopefully flow seamlessly with the NCDOT South Front Street widening and a future replacement of the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. So what that means is we're moving our gate about a mile closer to the bridge. Trucks will be able to enter and use a badging office on site. And then there'll be about a mile of queuing inside the port terminal. And this also allows us to open up what we call our north property, which is about 100 acres of undeveloped port property between the existing Port of Wilmington and Colonial terminals. So we're really excited about that. We've got a lot of things underway. We also have a $13 million grant through NCDOT to help us build 4 new rail storage tracks. There's a lot going on. We're really excited about it. So once again, a lot of that is funded through federal grants that have been awarded to us based on resolutions of support, like ones that you guys have sent for us. And so we really appreciate your support.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions for her? Not, we'll move on to Ferry Division.
I did not receive any updates ahead of time, and I don't believe the cat is with us right now. So I don't think we have anything from Ferry today.
Okay. Move on to Division 3.
Hi, Trevor, you can go first. Okay, I'll go first. I'm sorry. I'm representing Division 3. I'm Adrian Cox, planning engineer. In your packet, you have the projects that are in development, those that are in current construction, and they're resurfacing on preservation projects. Do we have anything in the presentation?
I don't.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just, in your packet for projects that are in development, we do have the bridge coming in 2025. We do have 2 projects, which are the bridge preservation in Surf City with the lighting. That was delayed because we didn't have the materials, so we will be relighting that in May 20th. And then the other project is replacing the bridge number 37. It's on NC 53 over Angola Creek in Pender County. So that will also be let in the fall of 2025. And then just one last thing on this was listed the ferry project, and that was a mistake by me. I'm going to remove that. That's an unfunded project, so we'll take that off your listings. If you go to the projects that are under construction, with each of these projects, we have 4 that are listed, and you do have in your packet the detail map of the project so that you can see where it is in relation to it. And then the scope of work is in the information. And then on the side, we added project details, your project comments, and then construction progress. So
It's not in this.
oh, I don't know. Okay, sorry.
Oh, did I miss? Oh, that might be my error.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Don't
Go over it.
yeah, I'll just go through it. Sorry. So so the very first project is 211, the Midway project that's been ongoing. That's about 1/3 of that cost is to infrastructure that'll help all the communities, including Boiling Springs Lakes, where we're increasing water pressure, having fiber optic, everything that people need for the infrastructure. So that is about halfway through on that project and is still estimated for completion in 2027. The next project is the bridge project over Long Creek on 210. Okay, so that's about 38% complete. The third project is the bridge over Sand Hill Creek on NC 133, and we just got that started. That's on River Road. And we do have detours for that, and we've had some comments about that we need to, with our traffic units, we are gonna improve those detours because, people keep kind of missing it or ignoring it. And still going through and then, turning around in neighborhoods and whatnot, so we're addressing that. For the Southport. And then the last project is, Moore Street, north of 211 over Price Creek, that bridge, and kicking off that project. There are resurfacing projects, for everyone. To see that we have, some that are, finishing. So we have the first project is broadband fiber along, I-95 and 74, so we're just increasing fiber on those routes. On NC 130 and various secondary routes, we are about 67% complete. The next one is a section of 53, 10 sections of secondary routes and 11 sections of non-system roads. That's 21% complete, but should be finishing it this year. And then the section of 87 and 8 sections of secondary roads, that's about 19% complete, but we'll finish probably by spring of next year. And there are various locations throughout Onslow and other counties that are just kicking off. And so we do have maps and a link that is available for everyone. And so that's at the bottom. Maybe it got cut off this page. Like, so I'm sorry, my presentation didn't come through exactly the way I anticipated for you all. I apologize. But there is NC Go portal, and that does have information. So one of those maps that is available that you can see or Go NC portal is the Highway Maintenance Improvement Program, which are your resurfacing projects that show you our 5-year capital improvement projects for resurfacing, and shows those details where those locations are. So if you have questions, you can just look at that map or give me a phone and I can provide it to you. Any questions?
Thank you, Adrian. I have one on the projects in development. It's B 5627 Bridge 11 on NC 87 over Orton Pond Creek. Is that in the general vicinity of Boiling Spring Lakes, or where exactly is that on 87?
I actually am not positive.
That's a pretty major thoroughfare, so I'm just thinking ahead as far as detours and things like that, and especially there are schools on both sides of that, and I'm thinking about how that's going to affect school bus traffic and all of that.
So that's a good point, and I do believe that we incorporate this, that we do try to address that as we get closer to the let date. So the let date for that is
Derek will be coordinating all of that.
Yeah, so, but we can reach out and make sure that we are covering, again, just like the issues that we're having in Southport. You know, we'll go the extra mile if we need to do anything extra for that.
Can we look at too, while you're having that discussion, East BSL? Close that road down, there's probably gonna be a lot of traffic coming through that back road, and that road is actually sinking and falling apart right now.
Is that a DOT road?
It's a DOT road. It's a
Which road
very East BSL. The rail from the railroad to the Funkston is absolutely just in poor condition, falling apart. And the perception of our residents are there's probably 15 homes on Funkston, 200 on East BSL, and Funkston was paid before that. So there's a very bad perception with the residents because of that. And
Y'all can communicate on that.
Yeah, it's in very poor condition.
Yeah, I don't drive through there, so I'm not.
Is it due to the current detour, or you're talking about if it was used for the future detour?
If it's used for the future detour, but there's residents using it now because of.
Even if it's not a detour, it'll be used as a detour.
Yeah.
People who know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring that up with our maintenance staff. And then, before we wrap up, Trevor Carroll is online and he wanted to provide additional updates.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I do want to comment on the Funston Road paving. So that was previously done in anticipation of what's going on now on 133 and near Funston Road. So that's why we tried to get that paved first. But to your point about East BSL, yeah, we will certainly look into that. I wanted to bring up some staffing updates from Division 3. First, I do want to let everyone know Michelle Howes will be serving as the Deputy Division Engineer. I know you've grown to know her over the past few years in this role, so she's accepted a new role. With that, we are going to be planning to backfill that position of the Corridor Development Engineer. Adrian will continue her role as the planning engineer, so you'll keep seeing her in all these meetings as well. Also in the room, I want to introduce Ben Hughes. Ben is our district engineer who serves Brunswick and New Hanover County. And he'll be, involved with our planning organizations as well moving forward. This is one effort that we're trying to make sure that we as Division 3, our engineering staff is engaging with our planning organization at multiple levels. Don't be alarmed by all the new faces you may be seeing and meeting in the upcoming days. I'll ask you to be encouraged by that because we want to engage and we want to, improve our service and communication lines and, just work together as partners. So that's the reason for having some folks come in and move around and that's what you'll see. So with that, I'll take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor, and congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Trevor?
Not for Trevor, but the broadband project on 7476, not knowing how fiber optic works, is that fiber optic for one particular company or can anybody in the fiber optic business use it? And if so, how do they select which company? If there's only one company, how do they select which company owns has the fiber optic?
I can't speak to that specifically. But
I was in a meeting with a guy that works with a company that does fiber optic, and from the comments that I heard him say was he doesn't understand how they even got permission to do anything along 7476 because DOT usually doesn't want infrastructure that close to the road. And it sounded like his company didn't have access to that. I didn't. I was just wondering.
We can find out.
Yeah, we can find out, follow up with you. And find out who he is and, maybe see what we can.
I was just curious.
Yeah. No, I understand. And I think along those corridors, the fiber optic is necessary for signage and maybe access. So I'm just not sure, but I will find out.
Okay.
And I know one of the things is if you're going to put fiber optic in, it's best to do it in partnership with DOT just because, and if you could, I know there've been instances where it's been done in partnership with other utility companies like water and sewer so that it's all in the same place and one company's not chopping up the other company's infrastructure.
I mean, and they are putting it as far off as possible.
Any other questions for Adrian or Michelle or Trevor? If not, before we move on, I bumped into both Chad Kimes and Caitlin at the Wilmington Chamber event the other day, and they seem to both be enjoying their private sector lives, but I thought I would pass that along. I don't know if Chad's listening in. He may not be out of bed yet today, but
I don't see him on here today.
he's not on here. He'll get up in a few minutes. We'll move on to Division 6. Anybody from Division 6 online?
I believe we have, yeah.
Yes, Philip Hart. Sam, do you have the report or should I share a screen or?
If you'd like to share your screen, you can. They have those maps in their packet.
Okay.
But I didn't get a chance to add it to these slides. Would you like to share your screen?
I can, if y'all would like. Sure. Let's I'll share. Everyone able to see?
Yes, I can.
Sounds good. So I'll be covering projects on Division 6, District 3, which was Columbus County. Let's see. All right, so our first project is R 2561CA. This is our NC 87 and NC 11 interchange. Was at grade being converted to interchange. Expected completion is late 26, we're 39% complete on that. We've got utility relocation and interchange grant grading in progress. The NC 87 bridge is ongoing, the construction of it, and then the NC 11 traffic has been shifted to the on-site detour. And then just noting a few of the RCI type intersections along that stretch of 87. The total distance is around 1.7 miles. Our next projects are 5020B. This is our US 701 bypass. They're Virgil from Madison Street, J.K. Powell Boulevard, from Virgil Avenue to US 7476. We've around 83% complete. The project's functional. We're lacking a final lift of asphalt, some signing, marking, smaller type items to be complete on that. And those are expected to come with warmer temperatures. So the estimated completion on this project is the end of 25. So it should be complete prior to that date. Our next project is R5819 and R5820. This is our US 7476 Chauncey Town Road, converting at-grade intersection to an interchange, and then doing an at-grade intersection to an overpass. This is Old Lake Road. We're 78% complete on that with estimated completion early 26. The interchange at I want to say, I'm looking for the SR there. I had 1725. Maybe I think that's supposed to be 35, so that might be a typo there. So the interchange is open, the traffic service road's open, and Old Lake Road overpass is open. The things that are in progress is the NC 214 Chauncey Town Fleming Drive roundabout, which is kind of located in the northwest of the illustration there on the title sheet. We're at 78% complete on it. Our next project's HI 0015. This is our US 74 from NC 214 to Water Tank Road. There's approximately 5 miles were complete prior to the seasonal paving limitations. We're expected to complete that once the temperatures are warm. 46 complete on that. Percent complete with estimated completion in the fall of 25. Our next project's a bridge project on Old Lumberton Road over Western Prawn Creek. This is, for all intents and purposes, complete. It was open to traffic. Basically, the only thing remaining on this is project closeout items, so we'll remove this from future reports. And then this is our Columbus County Municipal Airport apron expansion. We're 85% complete on that. We're doing a little bit of the incidental type work with fencing and vegetation, things of that nature. So this is a new project that's been added to the list. This is BN 0006. This is Tabor City. Some sidewalk and pedestrian signalization. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's in the aerial image there on the title sheet, you'll kind of see a white line that kind of zigs and zags and goes to the intersection and comes back around. It's a non-LAP project. It's a carbon reduction funded, but it is a project that the division or the department will be letting and provide project administration and construction oversight on. So we'll look forward to that getting started in the near future. The remainder of the report is a table type format that kind of covers our highway maintenance improvement plan and projects, mainly dealing with resurfacing, seal treatments, things of that nature on our secondary roads. One that notes here is our pavement markings. They probably got wiped out with the snow event, but we'll be looking to do more of those in the future. And then our next table here is just future projects. You know, some of these are subject to change with the draft step, but you know, as it stands now, these are the schedules. And just another future list here of our bigger type roadway projects with a little bit of information. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is at the bottom. And then just one thing to kind of note to the group is we're coming up on the National Work Zone awareness in April. So we'll look to include some additional information on that in the future. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Philip.
Let me interrupt for just 1 minute. I'm sorry, I made a mistake and overbooked the conference room today. We got a meeting starting at 10:30. Like you guys are close to
Okay,
being finished.
we only have, I think, only one more person, and they're usually brief, so I think
Okay.
we could be done.
Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you. I just told it's gonna be a little bit longer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Tell them they've been praying for patience. This is their
I'm sorry.
chance. They've been praying for patience. This is their chance to demonstrate it.
Okay, great.
My bad, y'all. We had a communication error here at the COG.
Well, not to prolong the meeting, but I do have one quick question for Philip on future projects, the replace Bridge 271 over Mill Creek on Neal's Eddy. Do you have any idea how long Neal's Eddy will be closed? Because I know that's fairly close to one end of it, and I was just curious because that's also not too far from the CSX interchange, and I know they've done some closures lately, and I want to make sure there's hopefully not a time where CSX closes one end of it and the bridge is closed on the other, and those people can't get out.
I do not have what's that project number?
BP 6-R008.
Okay. I can look into it
Okay.
and see if I can get some additional information. Sometimes those projects, depending on where they're at in the grand scheme of things, they may actually accelerate or they may be delayed to some degree. But I'll look to get some additional information on that. And
I think the biggest thing on that one is make sure we're communicating with CSX, because we've had experiences where they would suddenly close a road, a crossing, and we didn't know it was coming because they hadn't told anybody.
Yes, sir. That's
Not DOT's fault, but. Any other questions for Philip? If not, we'll move on to integrated or the Transportation Planning Division.
Good morning, everyone. I'll make it real quick. So Brunswick County CTP, as Sam had mentioned, that is closed out and has been adopted last year. So we're working on mailing paper copies of the report to adopted agencies so they have something in hand. Columbus County CTP is still ongoing. The engineers are working on re-engaging with the steering committee to update the report, and they plan on holding public meetings as well going forward before finalizing the report and going into adoptions. Pender County CTP is ongoing. We are going to meet on February 24th. That is our next meeting to go over the survey results from last year. And everything else is in your packet. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Integrated mobility, we've already heard from. Anything else to add?
No, I do not.
Anyone from Board of Transportation on?
No, sir.
And we're seeing that there are other people who want this room. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Let's get out of here.
That's a motion, a very poorly worded motion by Commissioner Forte. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Coleman. All in favor may rise. The others may attend the next meeting.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the.
My ethics. Congratulations. Am I willing to say?
Here, hold on. Let me stop a few things.
Ignorance is. Apply for that.